One of the unexpected gifts that keeps coming with jail chaplaincy is realizing how many meaningful conversations can happen when people feel seen and respected. I'm finding that to be especially true in conversations with Muslim inmates. Many of the incarcerated Muslim men I've met seem authentically sincere, thoughtful, spiritually curious, and deeply respectful when they sense they are being treated with dignity rather than as projects or opponents to defeat. One area where conversations can become especially sensitive is around Jesus and the cross. Many Christians are surprised to learn that the Quran seems to deny that Jesus died by crucifixion. I've found many Muslims are surprised by that too. The key passage is Surah 4:157. Most Muslims through history have understood it to mean that one way or another, God rescued Jesus before he died and he was whisked away. That's one of the deepest differences between Christianity and Islam because for Christians, the death and resurrection of Jesus stand at the center of our faith. In a jail setting, I'm learning voice tone, body language, and facial expressions matter as much as what I say, sometimes more. Many people, inmates and staff, pay more attention to how I'm talking than the words I use. Many incarcerated people have spent years being talked down to, manipulated, stereotyped, or treated as less than human. Walls go up the moment a conversation becomes anything like, "Let me prove you wrong." Curiosity disappears, dialogue dies, and defensiveness dominates. Earlier this week, I heard a podcast that framed this through the image of a courtroom. The speaker encouraged Christians to see ourselves as witnesses, not attorneys, and especially not prosecuting attorneys. That distinction lingers in my mind. A witness simply says, "This is what I have seen. This is what I have experienced. This is why Jesus matters to me." A prosecuting attorney is trying to corner, expose, and ultimately win. Both online and in person, some Christians come across more like prosecutors than witnesses. Humble curiosity and genuine listening lowers barriers. Instead of launching a debate, I've found it more meaningful to ask questions like, what does Jesus mean to you? What do you think happened at the cross? What about in the tomb? How were you taught to understand those verses? I'm learning many Muslims deeply honor Jesus. They may not understand him the way Christians do, but Jesus, Isa, holds a profoundly important place in Islam. I also think Christians underestimate the power of sharing why the cross matters, especially where it stands in God's design for human history. For Christians, the cross was never meant to stand alone like a period at the end of a sentence. The cross points toward the empty tomb, Jesus alive, 40 days of astonishing and undeniable encounters, and the coming of the Holy Spirit. The cross is not just about death, it is about God moving toward broken people with forgiveness and presence and supernatural life. The implications of that in jail cells are immeasurable, and it can penetrate and dissect shame and guilt and fears and regrets, all extremely common in jails. Jesus was arrested. Jesus was falsely accused. He was publicly humiliated. He was mocked. He was stripped. He was beaten. He was interrogated by political and religious authorities. He was abandoned by many friends. And he was executed by the state. I'm learning how inmates connect with the story of what Jesus went through because they understand shame, regret, betrayal, suffering, abandonment, and fear. The immeasurable distinction is Jesus was innocent, but he faced all the same accusations. And that can magnify the intensity of his promise, "I will be with you," including through your trials, all your trials. Respectful conversations do not demand that we water down our convictions. Christians can remain deeply convinced about the death and resurrection of Jesus while still listening carefully, speaking gently, and treating Muslims with dignity. Jesus modeled that kind of truth-filled compassion, especially people outside the religious circle he grew up in. Sometimes the goal is not winning an argument in the moment, but speaking in a way that leaves room for trust and for spiritual hunger to grow over time.